related to one party or another, and we call ourselves, a people's tribunal, so we didn't want to have to ask Hamas or Fatah or the PA what they were thinking of the tribunal, because we didn't want them to try to take over in any way. Fatah and the PA is sort of involved in the tribunal because Leila Shahid, who is the PA delegate of Belgium, Luxembourg, and maybe the Netherlands, anyway, PA delegate in Europe, is involved in the tribunal and was one of the persons who actually called for the tribunal to happen. But we've always refused to take sort of any orders or even any advice from the PA or any political party. And I mean, the PA strives to comment on the list of speakers, etc. I won't mention names, I won't mention speakers, but saying, this speaker is for one set solution you should have in the tribunal. That happened to us. But we've always said, look, this is not your tribunal. We hope it's going to help you as a Palestinian, but we're not accepting any orders from you. Yeah, so Hamas, we never really heard any comment coming from them, and the PA, at best, they said it's okay, but they never, they never did any. They never used our filing. They never helped us. At one point, an important point, the tribunal in Vietnam in 65, 66, 67, the Vietnamese government partly funded the tribunal because they thought it was a very important tool. The PA, I think, gave us €3,000 ages ago. So they're not really helping much.
Right?
But it's for the best.
So one of the questions was about choosing targets. I can say from the BNP perspective, we follow a context sensitivity approach, which means that the activists on the ground are the ones who know best what targets to be choosing. And it varies from one place to the other. In some places, going after produce corporations makes sense. In other places, going after your councillor, if councillors are removable, that makes sense. From my own BDS activism, I think the best campaigns have been ones that can involve a lot of people and work at different levels at the same time. So instead of one that's only activists sitting outside supermarkets or doing direct action, but one that can involve people at different layers. So you do the direct action, but you're able to speak to the councillors and do the lobbying. So multi-entry campaigns have been really good, and the most successful ones from the experiences that we've had.
Yeah, I've got to sort of follow up onto that. I totally agree with what Rafif said, and I think more important than the specific targets are the principles behind it. And like Rafif said, it's context sensitive. It depends very much what you think in your local community or your in a particular country will have the most effect and can have the widest sort of support. But I think the principles of the 2005 Palestinian Civil Society call for BDS that Rafif listed are really what should inform whichever targets we focus on. Those should be really backing them up. It should be based on those three principles, because otherwise it needs to be focused. I think that there can be a tendency of, as I mentioned, sort of list ticking and almost, I don't want to be too critical of people, but it can be a kind of danger of everything possibly related to Israel and getting into a long list of purity tests, which it spreads everything too thin, sort of thing. So I think the things that you're involved with Viola are an excellent example of a very targeted campaign. And Viola has a good sort of local resonance as well, because it's basically your bin men. It's the corporations that the bin men that employ bin. So it's got that. I think in my local area you see the Viola logo, and every time I see it, I've got to do something about that. So it's I think content is sensitive and based on the principles is the key.
And also I think that I'm going to, as chair, throw in my little lot of this as well in 1 minute. The reason that I think first identified Caterpillar as a really important target was not just because of the obvious high street thing, although that's really important in terms of the creativity, one of the things that people did, when more and more brought out a dedicated little pamphlet on Caterpillar, people would go into some of the shops which are stocking Caterpillar boots, as if they were going to buy them, put on a pair of the boots, and then take out the report from their bag and start reading it to the shop. At which point, of course, the shopkeepers thought, well, actually, we'd like to get them out, but they're wearing Caterpillar boots, which they haven't paid for yet, so we can't necessarily get them out. And that type of creativity, which has nothing to do with us at all, but just actually reaching out to people who had their own ideas of it, was one side of it. The other was to look at the divestment side, not just the boycott and the street sort of level resistance, but to look at the fact that the Church of England had its £2.2 million of investments in Caterpillar. So we went again and again to the General Synod, which is the democratic body which underpins the Church, did lots of presentations, sent the report to the External Investment Advisory Group that gives them the advice on investments. And after 2 years of doing that, the Synod said, yeah, actually this is not the sort of company that the Church should be investing in. And the next year, the Church disinvested. They pulled out the £2.2 million. And then that sent a spiral going, so you had other churches beginning to say, well, why are we doing this then? If the Church of England, which is not exactly the most radical organisation in the earth, if they can do it, why shouldn't we be doing it? And I think that, again, it's just using those type of specific focuses. The most recent one we've tried to do is on BT, getting people to ring BT and asking why it is that Batik International, the firm which rolls out telecommunications infrastructure to the settlement, so again is absolutely integral to the infrastructure of the occupation, why it's been given these special privileges of being one of the members of the new BT International family. And, okay, it hasn't exactly stopped it happening, but it's certainly put that right on the agenda of Ian Livingston, the BT chief executive, who's now talking about it openly and saying it's a real problem. So I think it's about, trying to match up where the specific things can be and where it's going to make most importance to people. For Elbit or something like that, not many of us go and buy drones very often. And so you can't boycott a drone. It's like those of us who are vegetarians boycotting McDonald's. It's very easy. It doesn't really make such a big thing. But you can then look in, obviously, to the sanctions side. That's where we called for the sanctions to come in, particularly on a two-way arms embargo with Israel. And again, following Operation Cast 35 of the licenses were withdrawn. Not everything, but a start. And I think every time there's one of these additional accretions to the mass of actions and the mass of successes, that's when it really begins to hit home.